You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hi, everybody. I am Miss Jen, and this is Talkin Shop, one of my very favorite shows to do all the week long. And I had the honor of meeting our guest today at New York Comic Con last year. Time is a construct, so it's kind of gotten away from me. When I realized that we both like really dope shoes. So we'll talk about that and the awesome book that she's putting out, She Bites, after this little bit of message. We'll be right back. All right, everybody. It is now time to think very clearly about the sharing. Who do you share this information with? Anybody that you want to get into comic books. That's how you share it. Make sure you share this show as much as you can, because I don't know, there's got to be someone in your life that you're like, man, if I could only find the perfect book and perfect pitch for them to get into comic books. And this is the best way to do it because it's super simple. We don't do any spoilers on the show, so we're not going to give away all of the secrets, but we'll just give them just enough to have them fall in love with the new medium for all the rest of their lives, which is what I did long ago when someone was nice enough to hand me a comic book. So do that every opportunity you have. All right, so let's get into it. We're gonna totally meet our awesome guest, Hedwig. Come on.
Hi.
So I think your hair is a different shade, a tiny bit, from when I saw you in New York Comic Con.
You know, I use whatever dye is left over in the like collection of weird oranges that I have, and my sister dyes my hair, so it's always like an experiment. Like the bleach this time was like really burny, but I wanted to be fresh and able to be spotted for Comic Con.
Absolutely. Okay, so when did you start with different colored hair? Because I was late to it. Not until I was 25 was the first time I ever tried any new color. And I worked my way into a new color because my husband doesn't like change. So I just started with a little bit of like highlights, and then eventually I went red. So when did you start?
My husband doesn't exist. So I, probably like 7-8 years ago, I started doing the orange. I had dyed it like once brown to be Peggy for Halloween from Mad Men. I'm very dedicated to costumes and used to do some cosplaying in my youth. But yeah, I've just been doing the orange for a long time. It feels like my hair color because I'm strawberry blonde, but like it's my spiritual version of my hair color.
I love it so much. All right, I promise you we're going to get around to the book, but I read other stuff first, so everyone gets to know you really well. So they don't just be like that person that wrote this awesome book that I love, but also I know all these other cool things about them. So you mentioned cosplay and costuming. So being a cosplayer myself, was this something that you have always done? Are you old school costuming, or did you come into it when it was cosplay and it was way more popular?
I mean, I've always been into costumes. Like Halloween was always my favorite. I've actually I don't want to be like, I'm a cosplayer, because I've probably only done it like a handful of times. But when I did it, it was like dedication. Like I was Adia from Final Fantasy 9, and I had like the big like thing, you know, like the big, yeah. And it like, I wore that around TakoshaCon and like knocked people over with it. So, I mean, I've always loved like Halloween costumes and doing that. And then I used to date someone who was like, oh, let's go to this con and cosplay. And so my first entry cosplay was Ed from Cowboy Bebop. And what else have I done? I did some obscure anime ones, and oh god, I can't even remember what all of it. Luca from Chrono Trigger, big Chrono Trigger fan. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so but I love Halloween. I always like have a Google Doc of like, what am I going to be for Halloween? Spoiler alert, it's what's her name? Misty from Yellow Jackets. Is that her name, Misty? Yeah, I think that's her name. This year, so
if it's anime, I pretty much whenever I see anime characters at con, I'm just like, it's anime, and I know it's going to be awesome, but I'm not cool enough to be in.
That Yellow Jackets is a live action show that's actually great that you should check out. It's about cannibal teenagers. Well, they're not started as cannibals, but like they get trapped in a forest. I don't know.
Ooh,
I
okay,
digress.
look at that. What platform?
I think it's Showtime.
Okay. I have to put it on my list. Hey, Cool Gamer. Cool's always on here watching. Is a good supporter of the show. He's a big fan. All right. So, have you ever tried cross-playing?
No, but I would like to. It's a little bit hard because I have boobs that are like a mountain to climb, metaphorically and like legitimately. But yeah, I mean, I think that's super cool, and I always like love people who do that. I think it's like awesome.
Yeah, I was blessed with no chest, so I can crossplay to my heart's desire. And I have a giant nose, which means I'm a good Inigo Montoya.
There you go. That's amazing. Who doesn't want to be good Inigo Montoya?
Yeah, Jenna's on. Jenna changes the color of her hair like weekly, if not bi-weekly, for sure. Joey knows where Yellow Jackets is. He's watching and said, Yellow Jackets is on Showtime. They're both clarified.
Pretty great. It's pretty dark, but it's great.
So how do you choose?
That's what I like.
How do you end up choosing what you're going to cosplay? Do you just like have a running, do you have notes on your phone? You're like, you're watching something like, oh, that's an idea. And then you just like look at your big list and just be like, oh, which one?
Yeah, I usually just like get inspired by something. I'm like, oh, I could totally do that. Again, I haven't actually cosplayed like at a con for a number of years, but I definitely do Halloween. Like I always am something really obscure that nobody knows who I am. Like I was Enid from Ghost World one year when I lived in New York, and like no one knew who I was, and I was like really mad about it, which is very Enid. So it tracked. It made sense.
It's tough because you feel like you do, even like if you're spot on in your presentation.
It was spot on. I'm always spot on. There's no like, I'm very dedicated to the details. When I do it right.
Yeah, there's nothing more soul crushing than being an Inigo Montoya, so much so that you have put on chest hair and drawn in, bigger eyebrows and stubble and stuff, but still people start just yell at you across the room, hey, Jack Sparrow, or hey, Captain Hook, which neither of them look like him in any way.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, I think that is the great thing about cons, though, is like, I mean, probably not everybody gets it still, but especially having done like TakoshiCon and like those kind of like hardcore ones where I was like really obscure characters and people know what it is. That's what makes cosplaying better than Halloween, because people will know. Like I was Log Lady one year for Halloween. No one knew who I was. I was a slutty Dalek one year. And nobody knew. And it was good. It was good. Yeah, I was a slutty Dalek because as you do. And yeah, I mean, it was like a little bit before Doctor Who was like huge in the new whatever, but so come on, I carried a plunger all night. It was really heavy.
It's dedication.
Dedication.
Do you go full on method? Do you become a Dalek when you're wearing the Dalek costume?
I mean, pretty much, yeah. I mean, I had a little like thing that you pushed and it was like exterminate, like I try to go all out.
Did you accost people at the con trying to exterminate them?
I wasn't at a con. I was just at like a Halloween party, but we went to this like cool warehouse rave and like RJD2 was playing and I was like trying not to hit people with my plunger while I was like but also kind of trying to hit people with my plunger at the same
time. Shane Burns thinks I would make an awesome 10th Doctor. I think I'd have to cut my hair though, and that would be, I don't know if I can. I worked real hard to get it long. So.
I mean, there's wigs, bald caps, or what, not bald caps, but like, you could always wig it up. But it is nice to use your own hair. People think I have a wig on most of the time, but it's my actual hair.
But you have a ponytail. How can you? That would be really difficult to pull off.
I mean, maybe that's a compliment. They think I'm a great wig stylist. Or people ask me if this is my natural hair color, and I'm like, what? No.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that's so upfront about it. They're like, you have really pretty hair. I'm like, thanks. You too can have this hair. I will send you to my salon. And they're like, why would you say such things? I'm like, well, there's way more things to really lying about.
You're just trying to spread the love of crazy hair, and that's great. Although your hair isn't crazy. See, people could think your hair is natural. Mine, most sane people are like, no, that's clearly not your actual hair color.
It's true. All right, let's talk about comics a little bit. When did you get into comics in general?
I got into comics kind of later. Like I was a big like library goer. Like I've always been a big like book reader and stuff. But I don't think I actually got hardcore into comics, or not even hardcore, like as hardcore as I am now, I guess. Into probably like high school and college, and grew up super poor, so it's not like I could buy them. That's something about comics. A lot of them are expensive, and I love the like I love the like luxury of like a huge graphic novel. Like I remember getting Bottomless Belly Button from the library and being like, look at this masterpiece. But I could never have like afforded it. So I got like a ton. I used to go to the library and I would get tons of foreign movies and tons of comics. And especially like through college and after college, like that was kind of my favorite thing to do is I would go to the library in Pittsburgh, which is where I'm from, every week, and I would get a million comics, a bunch of weird foreign movies that I would just pick arbitrarily and watch and love. And that was kind of my entertainment.
Yeah, I love that. That's kind of like a good reminder for if you live in a community that has a good library, but you don't see them carrying graphic novels. It's always nice to just kind of encourage the librarian that such a section is easy to put together. Usually a local comic book store will help them with that if they don't have anybody on staff that knows graphic novels at all. I'd be happy to get it together for them and figure out how to source the stuff for them. I think it's important because some kids are more visual learners and they need like graphic novels, a perfect way to learn.
No, I wish I had gotten into them more when I was younger. I just didn't really have a gateway. Like I'm the oldest of 3 sisters, and just nobody in my family really ever read comics, so it never was just a thing. Like you were talking about earlier, it's a lot of it's just about that good gateway book. So I'm always trying to do that for people. Like I got my mom and like my godmother into Lumberjanes. I knew they would like love that, and like and I love like curating suggestions of like books and movies and TV for people, and I take it very seriously. So I love that. Like I love a quest of like, what is the one for this person? Like I know I can figure it out. Whether it's like Persepolis or Lumberjanes or like, especially like a lot of like women in my life that would never like pick up a comic, but like end up loving a lot of these books.
Oh yeah. You just get them, Way of the House Husband manga, and they'll be sold. Yeah. Do you have people? Does everyone in your circle know that you're the right person to come ask?
I mean, I think they do. Yeah. I mean, especially now that I'm making my first comic. So, I mean, people already knew that and I wear a bunch of like crazy comic-y looking clothes. Like people know. They're like, oh yeah, ask that clown. Not in a mean way, but like, yeah, like I'm like the quirky indie person in everyone's life. So they'll be like, yeah, I'm kind of that person.
Am I going to see you at San Diego Comic-Con?
Yeah, no, I will totally be there. I'm really excited. We're doing like a pretty big release of the new issue at the Scout booth, and we also are doing a panel that I'm on Saturday at 4 in room 9 about making your first comic.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's my plug.
Plug. All right. So She Bites has the most simple pitch. And this is like the best promo I've ever seen for a comic book. Quite clearly. This is like,
I don't know if it totally worked, but I loved doing it. Like, do you want me to explain the whole thing that we did?
Say what you guys did at New York Comic Con, what the deal was people had to do.
So I made this flyer. There's a flyer in the comic that is like the inciting incident that gets the character to like take the job. First of all, it's about a 134-year-old vampire in the body of a 9-year-old girl who hires a suicidal teenager to be her babysitter. So the girl that finds the flyer for the babysitter, she finds it, whatever. So I made the flyer basically in real life, and I made tabs on it with phone numbers on it, like a real flyer. And I made like a Google voicemail of my friend's daughter, like speaking as Elsie, who's the vampire character, being like, hey, if you take this tab to booth, blah, 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 you get a free ash can. But there's also like funny stuff where there's like somebody being murdered in the background. It was really fun to like have my friend's daughter do it. And so it was kind of like pretty niche and underground. Like, I don't know if everybody like found it, but it was so funny because I got these voicemails on this Google thing. And some people thought it was a real babysitting job. Some people were like, this is so cool. Some people were like, what? Like, it was just so funny, the responses we got. And we did it in New York and we did it in San Diego Special Edition. And in New York, I like sprained my ankle on day one putting the flyers up myself, and it was so bad. And people were like, how'd you sprain your ankle? I was like, guerrilla marketing. Which I just thought was so funny. As somebody who's, I've worked in marketing forever, so that's at least something I can take from it, is like weird creative marketing ideas.
What's so interesting is that when I asked, it was getting kind of, they were wrapping up the convention. I was like, well, how many people actually came and turned in their little, because they had to bring the pull tab, because they got instructions about where to go. And it wasn't a whole bunch of people that like took the whole quest.
I think it was hard to figure out how to do it in a way that like wasn't too hard, but like we didn't know if a bunch of people would do it or not. And like, you know, it was kind of like not a perfect marketing strategy, but the people who did it like loved it. Like there were people who were like, this is the coolest thing ever. So we're not going to do it at San Diego this time. I feel like we've kind of done it, but maybe one day we'll do it again. Who knows?
Yeah, because San Diego is the right place to do it because there's been so many of those kinds of things that people have done before. Like I can remember one year you had to like, it was a Batman thing where you had to like find a clue, answer the riddle, go to the next clue, and people like spent like days or a lot. There were people that were like seriously dedicated to make it happen. But it was neat because it helped out for people that maybe didn't have a ticket for every day of the convention, that there was stuff outside the convention that were like side quests, as Joey says, that people could still do and interact with Comic-Con even though they didn't have a ticket. So, and plus
there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you can do at Comic-Con even if you don't have a ticket. Like I worked at NBC for a really long time, and I was like a big creative part of like the Brooklyn Nine-Nine activation and the Good Place activation and stuff. And even those that are like huge, a lot of like huge activations, you don't even need a badge to do. Like there's so much going on. So it's, you know, it's fun to, I always try to encourage my like friends and family that are local to LA to come and like check it out, even if you don't have a ticket, because it's really fun. And it's just like a fun energy to be around, and you get a lot out of it, even if you're not like in Hall H the whole time.
I so agree. So, okay, so let's get kind of into your background of about comic books creation for you. Is this your first comic creation?
This is my first comic creation. I've loved comics for a long time. I think they're such a cool medium. I have such respect for artists. I'm an artist in a way, like I do crafts and art, but I am not like an artist. And so breaking into comics was really difficult for me as a writer. And even years ago when I first wrote this script, because this was originally a pilot script, I had asked my reps like, hey, this could be a great comic. Like, can I meet with some people and blah, blah, blah. And it's an insular community that's a little bit hard to break into. And then when I saw the thing for the script to comic contest, I was like, oh, I'll enter that. Maybe I have a shot. And then I like won the contest and I was like, what? That's crazy. So it just kind of, I had the script and everything ready, and it's something I had already thought about. So it just kind of like came together very nicely in that way. And it's been great to have somebody like making my first comic possible. So I'm hopeful that I can like make more comics now that I've like broken the seal, but who knows?
Yeah, I having had access to the Ash Can it's been a long time since it came out. So I know I've been hyped for the book to drop, and you've picked the right company, honestly, for this kind of content. Like Scout is really, really good, and they're really great at like doing a lot of promotion for their creators that are on board. Because I feel like some of the big companies, they don't spend as much time trying to go out and like cultivate an audience for all of their comic books. They just kind of feel like it's DC or it's Marvel, so everyone's going to know. So have you gone and done any other kind of promotional things? We got to do any other cool interviews?
I mean, I've been trying to do it. I mean, I've been trying to do things since the beginning. Like we did the whole poster campaign. I did like set up a bunch of social medias. I mean, I kind of like dropped actually posting on them for a few months because we were transitioning to a new artist and stuff. So, but I just picked it back up. There'll be a lot of posts in the next in the next week or two at She Bites Comic. If you want to follow us. And yeah, so I'm just trying to do that stuff. And like, I'm going to be on the Bitches on Comics podcast pretty soon, I think. And I'm hoping to like interact with some more people at Comic-Con to maybe do some podcasts and stuff. You know, I don't want to like force myself onto people, but you know, it's good to talk to people and it's just fun to talk to people about comics. So like, I would love the chance to do it more. So hopefully this is just the beginning.
Yeah, Comic-Con's the right place to connect with people because there's a lot of people out there looking for content and they're walking around. So you'll probably get people just walk up with their camera / microphone and ask you all kinds of cool questions. What is Jason?
I got all kinds of crazy outfits like ready. Ooh. So I'm can't wait. They're outfits I already owned. I own a lot of crazy outfits, but like I have the Leslie Hung Big Bud Press jumpsuit. She's the artist from Snot Girl, and I love that. And like it's like naked ladies, and I'm like, yes, I'm wearing this comic. So you'll have that to look forward to.
Now I'm gonna have to come to the Scout booth every single daggum day so I can see what you're wearing.
Or you can just follow my social medias, and then. But also, we should hang out. So either.
I'm like, this is not as fun as hanging out with you.
That's true.
Like, I think I'm gonna bring I've got some Soot Sprite boots. They're not nearly as cool as your boots.
That's very cute, though. I like that. I'm a big Studio Ghibli person. I have 2 younger sisters, and we grew up on Studio Ghibli. So my first tattoo was Totoro, and then my middle sister has the middle Totoro. My little sister has the little Totoro. It's very cute.
There was someone dressed as one of the big no faces at the con, and it was almost terribly scary. Except for they like missed it. They should have gotten one of those like hoverboard things and put it underneath their costume.
Oh yeah, so that would be dedication.
Totally said nope and run away.
Yeah, no, that's no face is kind of scary, but also nice. He's complicated.
Very much. All right, so it popped up there, but I didn't get to read it very fast. Jay said if this was a show, you'd definitely binge it day one. Such an interesting.
Well, that's great to know. And I mean, as somebody who comes from like a writing TV background, it's something that like, who knows, could happen. In the script to comic contest that I entered this into, kind of like the idea is to make a script into a comic and then use the comic to help pitch the script. So we've kind of like been starting that process, which is exciting. And, you know, I love TV, and that's definitely like my first love, but like comics are so special and so unique of a medium. Plus, as a writer, it's amazing because I've written a million scripts that I love. Like I've loved these characters for years, like way before it was a comic, but getting to see them, and even if nothing ever does happen with it with TV, it's like I got to see them exist and other people get to see them exist, and they're such like a part of my heart. So like that's what's so amazing. And again, as such just a fan of comic artists, like my Instagram, the people I follow are like artists. And it's been so amazing to work with the artists that I've gotten to work with. Like Jaguna, who is my original Ashcan artist, who I just want to give a shout out to because I love them. They're so talented. They're such a cool artist. Unfortunately, like Scout kind of decided that they wanted to go a little bit of a different direction with art, which is how we ended up with Alberto. But he's like amazing as well. I mean, they're very different artists, but I feel so lucky to have gotten to work with both of them, and I'm such a fan of them. And you know, I feel very honored to like have my story told by an artist, which is one of the reasons why I'm so excited to hopefully keep doing comic stuff, because it's awesome for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. Like addictive once you get started. It's like I bet you could just like have ideas that pour out of you.
When I have things that are written, you know, like I'm a writer. I've been writing scripts for years, and I had like an artist that I came upon when we were doing test pages that I loved, and who I was like, oh, I have this other script that I would love for her to work on, and blah blah blah. So you know, it just gets me so excited, like percolating of all these stories, or like, what's the story I could write for this artist and like make them do something, you know, it's very like fertile, cool ground that makes me really excited.
Oh yeah. All right. So when is the official release date, or do we
It's
know?
Wednesday, I
So
think.
it is this week. Okay.
There's
Because I
been
know
all
things
the
get kind of wonky
printing
because of COVID.
and the printing and everything. As
Mhm.
far as I know, it's Wednesday.
Because I get to read it tomorrow. Yeah.
Which is exciting. Hopefully, let me know if it comes tomorrow because I kind of like wasn't 100% sure if it was actually happening on Wednesday, but that's the days that they gave me is the 20th. And then we're doing a big launch at Comic-Con. So you're gonna get to read it even if it's not Wednesday, it will be Thursday.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'll
For
come to the
you.
booth and I'll cop a squat with a copy.
Yeah, please do. I will be there. I think my signing thing is at noon on Thursday. I'm getting the 7 a.m. train, so I will be around.
Oh my word! You have to get up extra early to get all your cool outfit together.
I know it's okay. I'll do it ahead of time. It's it's Comic-Con is like preparing for battle, especially because the past few years when I've done it, I've been going for work and doing these huge activations with like actors and all these crazy things. So honestly, this Comic-Con is going to be like a cakewalk in comparison to previous ones for me.
Logistics for those
So
other things are hard.
yeah, I mean, they're fun and it's amazing. And honestly, it's just, I love fan culture and I'm such like a fan first of things. And so I loved doing those activations because like you're providing something for the fans that is special and that you get to see them love. And like, that's something that was a part of my job that I always really loved. And I love the love that fans have for things and like the passion that people have for the niche things that they love. And that's like what's so cool about cons. And it's great that, San Diego is going to be back full force, even though I'm also terrified of that, but it's exciting.
It'll be fine. All right, so I'm gonna ask a really crazy question, and if you've never done it, then it'll be like a wah wah for me. But
Well,
so okay, the book is about babysitting. Do you have a babysitting story, either having been a babysitter or been babysat?
yes. I mean, I definitely both. I definitely had a babysitter when I was a kid who let me watch like Chucky or something and it like messed me up for forever. I also had my grandma was babysitting me when I was a kid and I had this lamp that was like a clown and I wasn't scared of clowns at first in my youth. But this clown lamp caught on fire while I was in bed when someone was babysitting me and it was so scary. So now I'm really scared of clowns. And I have babysat also. I'm a really bad babysitter and I've always had problems like sleeping as like an insomniac. So I would babysit and like fall asleep while I was babysitting in the morning. And like I would wake up and the kids would have like drawn all over their arms. And I'm like, oh no. So I wasn't the best babysitter for sure. That wasn't my forte.
I don't know. I feel like most kids that babysit, the sweet spot for babysitting is like when they turn 11 until they turn 16, because the minute they get a car, which is like great because then they can drive their own selves home. The problem is that then they have a social life and are never available. So usually kids are pretty young when they're in charge of other kids.
I never had a car because I was poor. I had a bicycle, so that was good. But yeah, I don't know. I just was a bad babysitter, and I did it when I was older. I didn't really do it when I was younger. I used to work at the science center. That's what I did as a teenager.
Oh, okay. All right. So where should everyone follow you on social media so they can keep up with all the stuff that's going on in San Diego and beyond?
Yeah, so at She Bites Comic is the comics social media. My like arts and crafts and regular person one is at Heather Makes Things. Heather being my actual birth name, Hedwig being my chosen / pen name. It says Heather Hedwig on there, so you'll see it. You'll see a person with orange hair with like this exact background of like a million wall pictures. So you'll know it's me. Shouldn't be any confusion, hopefully.
All right, everybody. So everyone follow. Now, I can say we've got the links up so you guys can pop over there and follow. I hope at San Diego Comic-Con you get lots of love, and then maybe there'll be some kind of mysterious, announcements that make everyone crazy.
I mean, who knows? I don't know. Comic-Con. gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Come say hi. Say hi in general. The last thing I want to say is the book kind of like pokes fun at like mental health issues and suicide and things, and I want to make it clear that it's a dark comedy and that I have the utmost care and respect for taking care of your mental health. And really, at its core, it's a story about two friends helping each other make it through a really difficult time. Um, so it's a meaningful story to me, but I just don't want it to be misconstrued as, encouraging anything bad. But, get help if you need it is important. There's like some resources on my page too, because you never know. It's tough out there these days, guys. We got to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, I will see you in a few days. I can't believe it. I'm still
Can't believe it.
Not anywhere close to being ready for such a thing, but get on the plane Wednesday no matter what.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm excited to see you. Thank you so much for having me. And and everybody else swing by, say hi, come to the panel on Saturday at 4. And should be great. Yay.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Safe travels.
Of course, anytime. You too.
I'll see you then. All right, everybody, stick around. We're actually going to do a kind of interesting interview up next. We're going to interview Jay Burns, who is normally a producer, but had his very first convention experience this week. So I'm going to ask him all the hard questions about what it's like to experience that stuff for the first time. Stick around. We're going to be right back after this break.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula, you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales. To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise of adventure, a promise of excitement, a promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey, and behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Thanks for tuning into The Experience. Help us out and hit subscribe over on YouTube and click the bell when you do. Need some help? Scan the QR code in the bottom corner.
Everybody, and welcome back to Talking Shop, our fun show. We usually talk to people about books that are coming out this week, but I got to talk to the coolest book out this week, in my opinion, in Hedwig, which was an awesome interview. But also because there's so many cons going on right now, and you're thinking about maybe going to one, we thought it might be fun to interview somebody about what it was like as an experience in case you've never been before. Or if you've been a million times and you want to see what it's like now to experience your very first con and nowadays, let's welcome Jay Burns. We're going to talk about how tired we are right now.
Oh. Yeah. First and foremost, thank you for letting me come along with y'all. It was amazing. Also, if you've never been to a con, the first thing I want to say is when you look at these booths, most of these folks build their own booths. It's a lot of work. So, I mean, my hat's off to y'all for that, because that's great. Some of these booths that I got to witness being built, yours included, I was just like, wow, I would have never known.
Yeah, it's interesting if all you do is walk into a con once it's all put together, like the doors open and you're coming in to like, do commerce. You don't know that when you first walk into that place is all it is what we call pipe and drape, and then some tables sitting around and maybe a couple chairs. And then everything that's within that pipe and drape that you see once the show opens, that's been built by people with zip ties and grid wall and all kinds of other things. And it's kind of cool to be in the room as it's being built. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Like what was surprising about that aspect about it?
Like I said, it was you walk into this empty space and there's just parts and pieces and people bringing in product, and then to actually see them set this stuff up, put the comics on the racks that they just built, the plushies on the racks they just put up. I couldn't believe when I brought those pieces in what you made with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was amazing. Like, when I saw the finished product, I was like, wow, this is the stuff I just brought in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you did y'all did such an amazing job with that booth. It was incredible.
I've actually learned from a lot of observation from those that have gone before me and done all the hard work. And then specifically, the booth design partially is attributed to my friend Jimmy J from Jimmy J Comics, because I don't know if he's the first person that ever did it, but that big long wall of grid and like shelving that's kind of like at an angle so you can see hundreds of comic books at the same time, I will attribute to him, because I copied his design. I literally asked him what brand of like shelves he uses, and I went and bought those shelves. So mad props, Jimmy J. And he's very free with his knowledge, so you should give him some love. You should follow Jimmy J Comics, and you should go visit him. He operates out of Frank & Sons, which is a giant like collectibles. I would call it a mall, indoor mall or indoor flea market. That's been around for a very, very long time in the city of Industry in California. You should go and visit. It will blow your ever-loving mind, because people actually run comic book shops and stuff out of there, all just one after the other. And it's huge. Okay, so let's talk about, since you got to crew with me, which I was so thankful for your help, you have no idea. To be able to explain to people that it's not just us showing up half an hour before the show goes live in the morning. You want to talk about how early booth runners usually get up?
Let's see. I think Jenna and I were up at 4:00 in the morning to get ready, just to get to the store at 6. And then you drove to George R. Brown, and oh man, I want to say, felt like it was 10 o'clock in the morning, something like that. I can't remember exactly the time.
Yeah. That's about when we got to go in. Yeah.
It was early, and you spend most of your Friday setting your booth up. So, I mean, we were there till 4:30 in the afternoon, I think, is when we finally left Friday.
We were really close to being the first in the door, because a lot of people are like, why would you get up and be there that early? But the reality is if you don't do that, then you end up in the end of a long line of other people trying to load in, and the loading dock areas for parking that are the ones you could probably get out of if you didn't want to like be chaosy, they're all taken up if you don't go early.
Yes. And I mean, there was 18-wheeler trailers that were unloading things. So you're just one after the other, and the parking gets crazy after a certain time, and there's just cars and the people showing you where to park, just driving everywhere. I mean, you really do need to get there early to get all your stuff set up, or at least be in a good spot so you're not walking, 8 miles to get through the doors in the back.
And
And
that's also it's a good point to make out too, also because I've heard people say that they feel like people that set up at conventions are a little bit rough around the edges and may be a little disheveled. It's because they've already been up for 6 hours hauling boxes in the heat.
Every person that I felt that I might have gotten in their way or anything like that, all of them were super nice about it. Everybody was, excuse me, or can I give you a hand with that? Super awesome. I don't know if that's how it is at most cons, but I had a very pleasant experience with the people that were there doing booths and stuff. So that was very awesome.
Joey said something sweet. Do not envy con vendors at all. We're a different breed. Yeah, we just do this one, but I know there's people that not only that were they set up at this convention, but because San Diego is this week, they had either had another whole crew that was driving to San Diego while this part of the crew was set up at this convention, and then they were going to pack it all up and follow them, or they were half crewed because half their crew was headed to San Diego to go set up. So it's not like most of the time you can just pack up and then you head to your next convention. In this case, Comic-Con is loading in today, so you can't.
Yeah,
it takes 2 days to get there. So
yeah, like I said, if there's anybody out there that's never been to one and think that these folks just come in and they paid for a booth and the booth is already there, not the case at all. I'm telling you, you walk through the back of this building and there's just people bringing in just crates and totes and 6-wheelers and carts just to build their booth. It's insane. Like you're a beast. You're a beast, Miss Jen. I'm telling you. You're amazing.
I am one huge bruise. That's all I have to say. I cannot wear a short skirt at Comic-Con.
Well, I didn't feel it that day, but I can tell you what. Saturday night when I got home, I had to stay up to flip my schedule back over to go to work last night. Yeah. I felt it then. I didn't even want to get out of bed. But I'd do it all over again. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed it.
You can see from your end now how important it is to have a crew that is understanding of each other, because it's such a lot of like pressure to get everything done and ready in time for people to walk in the door, because you don't want to be like half built booth as people walk in the front, because you want to present your very best self. But you can see how you have to be knowing that everyone's under a lot of pressure. Some people are driving trailers that they only drive once a year and can't back up to save their lives. And everyone has to okay, you're weak in this area, so I'll be strong for you in this area. And you guys were an amazing crew. I just couldn't ask for a better thing put together as what we did. So for sure. All right, we got fire. I like it, Rickard.
Oh,
so is that ship? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it is.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about what it's like once the convention is in play. So was there anything about once everybody had come in and everything started, was there anything that because you got to go walk around and see what the con was like as a regular con goer now? What were some things that you had expected versus what you saw?
Well, for myself personally, it might not show a lot, but I'm a very socially anxiety person. Crowds usually make me nervous, and I have panic attacks and that whole spiel. There were a couple of times I got a little overwhelmed, but for the most part, just walking around and just all the cool stuff that was there, it took my mind off of that, and I think my excitement kind of overrode the anxiety.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, there was only a couple times I had to come hide back in the Space Cadets booth, but because it was y'all were working so hard over there, and so it was me, my first con, just walking around. Now, luckily, y'all were there, and some writer friends of mine were there, so I got to go visit with them. there's just there's so much. There's so much to do. Like I can understand now why these are 3-day events because they are just there's so many different things, so many different artists, so many different comic places. There was all these indie writers. There's just all the food. I mean, it was insane. It was insane. It would be like, okay, I'd walk to one end. I'd be like, okay, I need to come back for a little bit. Then I'd go walk again, and then I'd venture further out and further out and further out. And then pretty soon I wasn't coming back to the booth as often. And then we had some folks that work at Space Cadets were at the con Saturday. So luckily for me, they let me play, and I'm not used to being little brother. I'm always big brother because I'm the oldest, but they let me be like the little tag along. So, and I really appreciated that too. But man, I can tell you this, I would 100% do it again. 100%. Like I think the more and more that I do things like this, the easier it is for me to kind of integrate, because you realize after a while these are your people.
Yes.
These are fellow nerds. These are fellow people. They're not paying attention to you. I mean, unless you're wearing some kind of cool cosplay. And again, I'd bump into people and everybody would be like, "Excuse me." There was no rude person that I encountered at this thing, and that was just a super super awesome experience. Now, I still don't know all of the con etiquette. Like there were times where I think two embarrassing things that I did for myself was I was introduced to these two gentlemen. They both stuck their hands out. I shook one hand this way and grabbed the other guy's hand like this and was shaking it. So I was shaking their hands at the same time. So it looked kind of awkward. And then I had bought some stickers from someone, and I didn't see they put the stickers in this little manila envelope. And when they're handing it to me, they said $5. Well, I thought he meant put the $5 in the envelope.
How cute. Cute.
Took me a second to realize, oh, there you go. I'm sorry. But again, not a rude person at all. Not a rude person at all. And
I think I could be wrong about this. There might be other industries in which they have the same camaraderie, but I really do believe that kind of like there's something about being a nerd that like it used to be terribly awkward and kind of made you a social pariah, and like you didn't know anybody that liked the same nerdy things you did, or there's very small amounts of them. But I think the conventions have kind of made it so that we've realized now it's not true. That doesn't matter what your fandom is, your nerddom, or what your deal is, that there are lots of people that also like what you like. And so you can feel comfortable going there. Yes, it's still possible to get overwhelmed with the amount of people there, but you can feel safe knowing that no one's judging you, because they're all doing their fun and they want to also be accepted for what they love.
It was just, I've been talking about it since. I told people at work that I know they don't care, but I just talked about it the whole time, about everything I did and all the people that I met, and I had my pictures taken with a couple of people. So I showed up. Some of my friends were like, "Hey, I saw you in some stories from these people," and I was like, "Oh, cool, that's awesome." So I went to check those out. Like I said, there's just it was an experience, and I'm glad that I overcame. I really thought I was just going to get panicky and just stay in y'all's booth the whole time, but I'm really glad I came. I really am.
And that would have been acceptable too, because you can just be in your close group of friends and not worry about it. All right, JD is saying that the things that he does not like about San Diego Comic-Con now are the crowds. They're actually not as bad as they once were, because they finally put in like RF scannable badges, because before that lots of people snuck in, so it was always like way over capacity, so you had to like move like now it's better. If you haven't been in the last few years, you should come back, because it's a lot more freeing. And yeah, for a while it's been more Hollywood based. But the thing I'll say that's positive about that is that Hollywood's there because they know that comic books are easy mining for ideas for movie and TV. So they're there to court who they know will like the things that they're making, and they're also there to shake hands with people that are even super independent people that have things on their table. They're the desire or the need to have new stuff to make and produce very quickly is so high that it's, I don't want to say vultures because it's not like that. They really are, trying to, be mutually beneficial about it. But it is the place really to be discovered with your, handmade comic book that you have at your, your booth that you've printed at Kinko's or whatever. It's entirely possible now to have one of the Wayans brothers walk up to your booth and say, I'm really interested in yours to develop it. And it's like a stunning amount of that happens more and more every year. So just find what you love about the comic book conventions and do that. Because I mean, like they had a whole section of Comic Palooza that was more about like makerspace, battling robots, science. They had NASA there. So if your thing is that kind of nerddom at San Diego Comic-Con, they have a whole science track. They have panels on what it's like to actually go and try to colonize Mars. And Neil deGrasse Tyson comes and talks. And so whatever your nerddom is.
Yeah, I think coolest things that happened.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Was first and foremost getting to go with y'all. You guys are my local comic shop. I talked about you to everybody I could because your shop is one of very few places where I can walk into that and I never feel anxious at all. I love being there.
Makes me feel really good.
Yeah. Also, meeting my buddy Dan Price, co-writer, co-creator of Bigfoot Knows Karate in person was very awesome. I think one that I won't say it takes the cake, but it was definitely such an awesome experience was when I got to meet Carlos, and I'm probably going to butcher his last name, and I'm sorry, Farrow. And he's a voice actor, and he voices a character named Dom Santiago in the Gears of War franchise. And one of the nicest guys. Like, I was so nervous. I always had this feeling that, they say, never meet your heroes, never meet people that you're fans of. 2 for 2 now, because Garrett and Dr. Christie were amazing, and Carlos was so funny and so nice, and I hadn't even bought an autograph or anything at that point, and he just sat there and talked to me, and it was so great. And then you let me get Jenna to go meet him for a few minutes, and she says almost cried in that comment. I'm pretty sure there was some tears coming out. And he was so sweet to her. And he just sat there. I sent her in the line because, again, I don't know how this stuff works. I was like, well, I've already talked to him, so I better not, just send her up there. So I gave her the money to get an autograph for him because I know we both wanted an autograph really bad. And he and his agent were sitting there, and they're looking at me. They're like, dude, come on. What are you doing? Come back. I was like, okay. So we walked up there, and he talked to both of us, joked around with Jenna, told her how cool she was, did a bunch of voice lines from his character from the game.
Oh, yes!
I mean, it was such an amazing experience, and he was such a good dude. Such a good dude. But
yeah, I'm always so happy when I hear that guests that come to conventions understand that, yes, they just met their, 500th person in line, but for the 501st person, that might be their first interaction with who they idolize as their hero. And I see it all the time where I see them, like every single person that comes up, they light up for them. And I'm so happy for that interaction because, I mean, this is why we do what we do, right? Because we love what we love.
And JD, the joke wasn't that Jenna was cool. I just ran that sentence together.
so funny.
Oh, but I had a blast. I had a blast. Wasn't a rude person in sight. Everybody was having a good time. So I'm 1,000% glad that I came.
What was the coolest cosplay you saw?
Oh wow. Unfortunately, I don't know the game, but it was like a big mech suit that had like these little skulls around it. But I mean, the dude was tall. I think
That's
Steve got a picture with him.
Yeah,
but I
that's
don't know.
A Warhammer piece.
Oh.
That's a Space Marine, I believe.
That
Huge.
was awesome. That was so awesome. I think my only regret is I was too nervous to take any pictures. So I have like 0 pictures of anything.
Yeah, I think I've got like 4 pictures from the whole weekend. Pretty bad.
Yeah, but you got a famous picture though.
I did. Yeah, it was so weird. We were on the main aisle, the middle aisle, the main thoroughfare in the middle of the convention for it looks like when people were going down for their panels, they would bring them just straight down this middle aisle, which because they kind of know that if you keep moving as a famous person, that people don't really like. By the time they realize that you're a famous person walking by, you've already walked by. But Chris Eccleston walked by once, and oh my gosh.
Was it Kyle McLaughlin?
Yeah, Kyle walked by twice. And by the way, both of those people in real life are impossibly handsome. Just like you just feel like it's got to be stage makeup or whatever. But unless they were all stage makeuped up, they were impossibly handsome.
Thank you, JD. I'll remember that for next time. Thank you.
Yeah. So the way they all have big signs also at conventions that say cosplay does not equal consent, which basically means it doesn't mean you get to like grapple on them and like jump on them and try to act like they're an actual character, or, be inappropriate with them. But as long as you ask, can I take a picture? They would not be wearing a costume usually if they don't want to have their picture taken, but it's just nice to ask. Is it okay to take a picture with you? And that's all there is to it. Most everyone is so happy and flattered to be asked because they really put thousands of dollars sometimes in the costumes. I can tell you that Marine costume was a thousands of dollar costume.
Yeah.
So to have not anyone ask me to be pictured with is a little bit of a letdown. So yeah, I saw everyone's getting lots of pictures and everyone was really happy there. Yeah. Oh yes. One of my favorite guys was he was really actually a dad that said he was a dad and he would answer dad questions and give dad advice and give dad hugs, and there was no dumb questions. And I actually saw him. A guy stopped him and asked him something about a vehicle, and he says, "Well, I'm not a mechanic, but I'll tell you what I do know." So he was like genuinely there for if there's something a dad would normally know that you need, and I think that's amazing. What is there's people that walk around and help fix cosplays as they fall apart. They have all the needles and threads and all that stuff. And those are selfless people that are just I have a skill. I can help someone that needs my skill.
Oh yeah, Sean, it really was. It was a great time. It was a great time. I'm so glad I got to go. It's awesome.
So if you're thinking about a convention, you don't have to start at something big like Comic Palooza or San Diego Comic-Con. There's lots of really cool hotel conventions that are much more small scaled and very comfortable. And start wherever you feel like you're comfortable. Either go with people that you know, so you have people that are there to lean back on in case things become overwhelming, or go somewhere small and invite a friend.
Yeah, Sean, we're gonna fix that eventually, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll find something that's the right speed for everybody. Yep, hotel cons is where it started. And is that Dalek real? No, but he does totally protect my back all the time.
Woo. Yep.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for Talking Shop. You shouldn't leave because there's an excellent show on right after mine. And I saw the pictures of what they're offering today on the collectibles show. So you should totally dig into that. And everyone give hearts and thumbs up to Jay because he's often my guy in the chair and is our producer for the show and other shows on the network. He works extra hard to make sure all of those things look perfect for y'all. And to that end, don't forget to subscribe, or if you're not on YouTube, make sure you ring the bell on Facebook so you get notifications. And for you joining us on Twitch, we love seeing you guys. Thank you so much. I can't do this without you, so thanks for the support. We'll see you guys next time. Bye, y'all. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.